It may be hard to believe, but in 1987, when Guns N' Roses released their first studio album, Appetite for Destruction, there was a lot of controversy around the cover of the album. Everybody knows the Celtic cross, but that wasn't the original cover. The original cover was the Robert Williams painting that featured a partially naked woman, and some people thought that Guns N' Roses were promoting rape and basically saying that rape is a good thing. And this is an interview from 1988 that Duff and Slash gave on Canadian music television. For those of you who don't live in Canada, we used to, or at least I think we still do, we have a music channel called Much Music, and they were kind of like our cheap ripoff of MTV. Now, this is an interview with the reporters sparring with Slash and Duff, claiming that they think it sends a pro-rape kind of message, and they kind of fight back and say, no, that's not really fair. Here's the interview.
With this sudden amount of attention from the press, were you surprised by the kind of reaction you got from your first album cover?
How it came about, it was Axl, it was a joke. Axl brought this postcard with that on it by this painter, Robert Williams. And we didn't really want to hassle over album cover. It wasn't like we wanted to, get our picture on the cover of the album just so you could see yourself on the cover. Mm-hmm. We just didn't want to hassle over it. It's like, okay, we were all laughing, Fine, record cover, let's go. Let's get it over with. And personally, myself, I don't think any of us saw anything wrong with it.
Wasn't that the reason that you put that on the front cover, was to get some shock value out of it?
Not to sound stupid or naive or whatever, or closed-minded, we didn't see any rape thing going on. It was like exactly what he said. It was a robot Fender getting robbed, and she got knocked against the fence, It could have
her bra fell off, what?
With her panties around her ankles, I would say definitely that is rape imagery.
No.
Okay, all right, fine. It was about, we were generally promoting rape.
Yeah. If you think we're generally promoting rape,
come on.
For somebody to see it like that, I could easily get on you for seeing it as a rape. Where prove it was rape.
Where do you think
it was rape?
But who was Robert Williams, and who was this guy who inspired this controversial front cover that caught Axl Rose's eye? Now, we have to sort of go back a little bit, back to the 60s. Now, Robert Williams began his career as an apprentice for Ed Big Daddy Roth, who was a really famous Los Angeles-based hot rod enthusiast and an artist who had a character named Rat Fink, who sort of had to become an underground sensation in the mid-60s. Now, Rat Fink basically showed up on everything from t-shirts to model cars to comic books and novelty albums. Now, Williams came into Roth's orbit purely by accident. He had been struggling to find work, and he was basically directed towards the outlaw cartoonist by the manager of a local unemployment office. So he basically said, they told me that the freak that ran it was some guy named Big Daddy Williams. He basically said, I said, wait a minute, would that be Ed Roth? They said, yeah, it was. And I said, let me at it. I was born for this job. So by the time Roth closed the studio in 1970, Williams had become Big Daddy's art director. And that led to a stint at Zap Comics with Robert Crumb, who had illustrated famous album covers for artists including Janis Joplin, B.B. King, and many others. So towards the end of the decade, Williams began a series of paintings called super cartoons that included Appetite for Destruction. Now, Crumb was reportedly the model for the robot aggressor in the illustration, though with something resembling a bear trap for a mouth. In an interesting twist, the looming Red Guardian boasts a rat fink-like tongue, and beyond that, however, Williams denied there was any deeper message to be gleaned. So he noted in the lowbrow art of Robert Williams, they were basically intended to have no more meaning than a picture on a cocktail napkin. If they appear to some people to be no more than tightly rendered cartoons, well, those people are right. Now, the Appetite for Destruction painting that Robert Williams did actually dates back to almost a decade before Appetite for Destruction came out. So it was painted in 1978, and the piece was titled Appetite for Destruction well before Rose and his band discovered it. So after he agreed to license the image to the then obscure Guns N' Roses, Williams later received a call asking if the band could use the name of the painting as the title of their album, to which he agreed to, unaware of just how huge the record would become. He said they paid licensing fees as an unheard of punk rock band would have paid, Williams remembers. Not a whole lot. They were just to me another garage band. So Rose initially saw the image on a postcard somewhere in Los Angeles, and as with so many perfect unions, this collaboration started off as the happiest of accidents. The painting ended up on a postcard somewhere, and Axl Rose walks down Melrose or somewhere, and he stumbles across this postcard, and this thing blows his mind, Williams remembers. So he sets out to get in touch with me, and it took him a long time. No one had heard of the band before, and it had no previous history. As he explained in an interview, Rose initially submitted the image as a joke for the cover proposal, knowing full well how graphic it was, but the image seemed to capture something close to the band's anti-institutional image, and it ended up as a major contender. Now, Williams at one point tried to dissuade the band from using the actual painting as part of their cover. So due to his experience creating what he terms questionable material, Williams was already familiar with trying to defend shocking or sensational work. And while helping to create the counterculture Zap Comics with Robert Crumb in the 60s, he saw several people sent to jail and knew this image would be problematic if it ended up on a mainstream album. He said this was not for the general public. This was never to go in people's homes, Williams remembers. There is no sophistication in this effing picture. It's an overdone cartoon for people who like underground comics and understand underground art, but that's a very small audience. Still, Rose and company were not basically to be deterred. His agent called up and said, we would be very interested in this picture. And I said, well, this is not a good idea. This is too violent. You're going to get an awful lot of trouble, Williams remembers. I said, why don't you just come by my house and we'll go through a couple hundred slides and we'll pick something that might be a little bit more palatable. So what's funny is when Axl showed up to his house, Williams originally thought that Axl was a female. He said, so a car pulls up to my front house and this guy gets out, and then this other guy gets out, and I thought it was a girl, Williams recalls, but it was actually Axl Rose. After I got to see he was a guy, he was a nice young fella. I always liked him, and he's very polite, shy, and mild-mannered. So eventually Rose would win Williams over, and the artist remembers thinking, if you have the guts to put this on an album cover, man, I'm behind you. Now, feminist groups were up in arms over the actual front cover, and here's what MTV had to report around the time that the cover started to make a lot of news and get a lot of controversy.
Welcome back to The Week in Rock.
Hi, I'm John Norris with the news.
On the group's 1987 debut album is still stirring up controversy.
People look at that sexist or anything. I mean, I guess I can see what they're saying.
Sensationalistic work has attracted many fans, them Guns N' Roses. But his painting on the inner sleeve of their Appetite for Destruction caused a recent controversy in California. A feminist group branded it a glorification of rape.
Glorification of rape.
It wasn't good enough, right, when we took it off the front cover and put it on the inside. That blows. They can't do anything about it.
When these people originally approached me, they were unheard of, and I considered them to be just another punk rock band that comes to my door wanting artwork.
It was a postcard we found in a store in Melrose. I think Axl turned me on to it.
I loved the picture, but I kind of submitted it as a joke because it was so outrageous. And I was like, you mean you want to use this? I was like, this is great. So then we just went for it.
They even used the name for the painting was Appetite for Destruction.
I love the artwork and the talent that was involved in it. And I think that since it was such an outrageous picture, that like the skill and the talent involved in making it gets overlooked.
I gave them my best wishes, but I warned them that this was going to get them in a lot of trouble, and they got them in exactly the amount of trouble I thought it was going to get them into.
A lot of people don't have anything else to do.
Now, the Robert Williams painting would once again come to bite Guns N' Roses in the ass almost 25 years after Appetite for Destruction came out. So in 2012, Guns N' Roses were doing a residency in Vegas, and they got a lot of complaints about some of their promotional posters for their upcoming dates that depicted a woman who appeared to have been sexually assaulted. So the posters were advertising the band's 4-week run at the venue, but were changed after rape crisis groups alleged that the artwork glorified domestic violence and could re-traumatize victims. Now, the casino released a statement in response to the controversy saying the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino regrets that Guns N' Roses advertising for their current shows has offended any member of the community, and the resort has decided to further modify the art and begin the process of changing the materials. The Hard Rock International added, Hard Rock International does not condone the advertisement or any depictions of sexual violence. Now, the criticism came from Hannah Brooke, who is the executive director of the Las Vegas Rape Crisis Center, who told the Las Vegas Review-Journal, this type of advertising is simply unacceptable, not only just for the victims and the message of violence it brings, but also for the community in general. She added that this is not the type of message we want to portray to tourists that are coming to our city. We want them to know it's a safe place to come, and by putting a message out there with Las Vegas above, it's concerning. Now, Guns N' Roses played 12 shows at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino's The Joint, and their final gig was on November 24th, 2012. So that does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. What do you think of Axl's original idea to use the Space Shuttle Challenger explosion as the original front cover of Appetite for Destruction? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you love GNR as much as I do. Take care.
Hey, this is Dizzy Reed from Guns N' Roses, and you're watching GNR Central. Yeah!